Loving greetings to all of you in the name of our Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda. Welcome. Welcome from all over the world, from North and South America, from India and Europe and Asia, all the places in between, Africa. Welcome to each of you, and a very blessed new year to each one of you. From here at the Mother Center, the international headquarters of our Guru's worldwide work, the spiritual nucleus, spiritual lighthouse, from which his teachings and his love and his living presence radiate out all over the world to our worldwide fellowship of members and friends of SRF and YSS. So welcome to all of you. And since we haven't met yet in 2026, I'd like just to take this opportunity to say just a word of thanks for the very sweet messages and remembrances that came in from all over the world at Christmas time, to me and also to all the monks and nuns. We're deeply grateful. You touched our hearts, each one of you. Thank you. Well, my dear ones, there's so much that I want to share with you today. I'm so happy that we have this opportunity at the beginning of the year for us all to come together, spend some spiritual quality time together in the consciousness and in the awareness of our divine Guru and Param Gurus. So let's begin by invoking their blessings, invoking their presence with an opening prayer. And feel as we invoke their presence that we are tuning in, we're invoking those indomitable spiritual forces of our hearts, of our minds, of our will, of our soul, that we can deploy in this year we're entering into. Let us feel their living presence as we call to them from our hearts. Heavenly Father, Mother, Friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Bhagavan Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar, our Gurudev Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we bow to you all. Beloved Gurus, make me a living link with your divine consciousness in this modern world, a living link with your all-embracing divine love and compassion and wisdom and unshakable peace. Saturate and recharge me with courageous courage, confidence, and vision as I march as an immortal through the portals of this new year. Om. Peace. Amen. Now let's take a few moments, close our eyes in brief meditation so that we can plug into that divine dynamo of God's unshakable peace. And let that be the foundation of calmness, the foundation of assurance for the courageous march that each one of us is going to make into the year ahead. Calm the body, turn the eyes upward, fix the attention at the spiritual eye, the point between the eyebrows. Feel that you are surrounded and permeated by the living peace of the infinite God, the infinite Spirit. Now visualize and affirm, I am submerged in eternal peace. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that peace. The peace of God calms me within and without. I am submerged in eternal peace. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in God's peace. The peace of God calms me within and without. The peace of God calms me within and without. The peace of God calms me within and without. Om. Peace. Amen. You know, dear ones of God and Guru, how the scriptures speak of that peace of God which passes all understanding. Passes all understanding. Do you ever stop and think about what that means? I know you feel it, but it's so wonderful to realize what that means. It means that peace that endures, that peace that persists and guides us, whether or not the world outside makes sense to our rational mind. Haven't you felt that? That's the promise of the yoga techniques of meditation, that peace that endures and persists in spite of all of the reasons, all of the worries that our busy little reasoning mind can come up with. That peace endures in spite of all that. It passes all understanding. That's the peace that we want to hold on to as we enter the new year. You can do it. You can do it. We all can do it. I'll give you two suggestions for it. First one is, make space in your life for silence. Make space in your life for silence. Just take that suggestion, reflect on it, meditate on it, and see how it applies in your particular circumstances, in your own personal life. Make space in your life for silence. And then the second one, out of that, to live that twofold existence that our Guru mentions in Autobiography of a Yogi. As Swami Sri Yukteswarji Paramahansaji's Guru said, those who attain self-realization on earth live a twofold existence. A twofold existence. Conscientiously performing their duties in the world they are yet immersed in an inward beatitude. You remember how Paramahansaji spoke about Sri Yukteswarji, and he said, his feet were firm on the earth and his head in the haven of heaven. His feet were firm on the earth and his head in the haven of heaven. Isn't that a thrilling goal to hold on to as we enter into a new year? There's no doubt, we can be realistic, and we know without doubt 2026 is going to have plenty of turmoil and challenges, outwardly speaking. No doubt about that. But inwardly, we can make it very, very different. We have the tools, we have the methods to do so. So, as we start this new year and gaze out over the months ahead, what kind of a journey will it be? What kind of a journey are we embarking on? I say, let's make it a journey with Paramahansa Yogananda. So today we're going to be mixing quite a bit in this talk. We'll have some news about plans and developments in SRF for the coming year. We'll have hopefully some inspiration, some reflection about that we can take from our Guru's teachings about how to make this the best year ever. And let me begin just by sharing something that I think all of you will enjoy seeing, and that is a new publication that we will be bringing out later in the year, probably in the fall of the year. So can you put that on the screen, please? There you have. Journey with Paramahansa Yogananda, Lessons from My 20 Years of Spiritual Training and Practice with the author of Autobiography of a Yogi by our beloved Sri Dayamata. So we're getting this ready to share with all of you later in the year, but I thought just to start the year, you would enjoy seeing a little preview of it. This is Volume 3 of Ma's talks, coming after, as you all know, Only Love, and then Finding the Joy Within You. And then these talks are later, mostly after those two books, the talks that she gave to the monastics and to SRF and YSS members all those succeeding years up until her passing in 2010. And you know, I think about how all of the talks that we received from our Blessed Ma, and it all revolved around helping us to understand how to follow the spiritual path that our Guru had laid before us. She had lived it, as it says in the subtitle here. She had lived it day by day for 20 years. And so often when she was explaining something to us or giving advice about how to deal with challenges or how to be more in tune with God, how to have greater devotion, more likely than not, she would always preface it by, I used to see Master did this, or when I watched Master, I would see this. It was all that. It was all giving to us what the blessing that she had to absorb that firsthand from him. So that's why we've called the book Journey with Paramahansa Yogananda. That's really the core of her message to us. And I don't know, can you see the picture? It's I hope it's big enough, but I love that photo of her and of Master, of course. But how many times in this very chapel I've seen her sitting here with that exact expression on her face. That exact expression on her face with those blazing blue eyes, somehow looking beyond what most of us around her could perceive at that time. But she was beholding that thrilling vision that Paramahansa Yogananda laid out for the future of his organization. And with that sweet divine smile on her face, that smile that flowed from a heart filled with the sublime faith and assurance and conviction. All will be well because he has showed us the way. So we look forward to sharing that with you later in the year. Now, as you all know, the title that was given for the event today was about advancing Paramahansa Yogananda's vision. So let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, I'd like us to remind ourselves of the fact that he had a vision. He had a powerful vision that he instilled. Try to visualize this. He instilled it into the river of events that flowed outward from the years that he was on earth. Far into the future, he instilled a specific spiritual vision into that river of events that flowed outward and onward from the years he was on earth. And at the very core of that vision, you know what it was? The very core, the very essence of that vision was this, that you will realize God. I remember one time when our revered Dayamataji was speaking to a newspaper or a magazine reporter, a journalist, and this individual had asked her, what was Paramahansa Yogananda's vision? What was his vision? And I want to share with you what she said, because it's exactly what I've just mentioned. She said, what was his vision? He was totally absorbed in an unending romance with the divine, and he saw the beloved in everybody he met. He told us, I have come for one purpose, to give you the love of God. I have come for one purpose, to give you the love of God. Powerful vision. Powerful vision for all of us. Powerful vision that embraces all of us. And then Ma went on answering this question about his vision. She said, divine communion, Paramahansaji emphasized, is not just for sannyasis or hermits. He envisioned the highest way of life as meditation combined with right activity. A balanced life that is capable of bringing God realization to householder devotees with family and children, as well as to renunciants. So, when we're talking about advancing the vision of Paramahansa Yogananda, let's keep this in mind. The very essence of that vision is that each one of you will manifest that divine consciousness. That's the essence of his vision. That consciousness by which you can walk through the world as a mystic in love with God. You can walk through this world as a living link with Christ and Krishna and the Masters, expressing in all the happy and challenging experiences of life, this mortal life, expressing those indomitable qualities of the immortal soul. Infinite power, infinite joy, infinite beauty, infinite unconditional love. So there's a reason why we decided to title this talk, Advancing the Vision of Paramahansa Yogananda, because the most important part of that, it means this: advancing the vision by which you will realize God, by which you will manifest that divine consciousness and journey with Paramahansa Yogananda to God realization. My dear ones, that's the vision that your own soul and God are holding before you. And that is the vision that SRF and YSS are committed to helping you realize. Guruji's great disciple, Sri Gyanamata, the one who wrote that book of wonderful letters called God Alone, she had this advice. She said, see nothing, look at nothing but your goal, ever shining before you. I think that's really good advice for a new year, don't you? Both for individuals and also organizationally. See nothing, look at nothing but your goal ever shining before you. This is how I talk to our dear monks and nuns and our wonderful lay members that do so much to help carry the operational activities of this great work of our Guru. And so to advance that vision, to advance those aspirations that we have for ourselves, for our organization, for all of you, to advance those, these devotees have organized those aspirations into 5 particular categories. And I want to talk about that a little bit today. We introduced these a few months ago in the fall newsletter appeal that went out. And I want to spend a little time talking to you about them today in connection with this advancing the vision of Paramahansa Yogananda. So put the next slide up. Taken together, these 5 set of categories, which I'm going over, we're calling them, this set of initiatives and also the campaign that goes along with it, Light for the Ages. Light for the Ages. So there you see the Blessed Mother Center, blessed by our divine Guru Paramahansa Yogananda, and that promise of light that he initiated and continues to pour from this site. So go to the next slide. These are some of the things that I wanted to share with you about these current priorities for the year ahead. You can see them there. Spreading the light, which means sharing the teachings globally, enhancing our programs, our services, and using technology to inspire seekers all over the world. Nurturing and upholding SRF's monastic order. Preserving SRF's sacred sites and sanctuaries. And building the necessary infrastructure that really makes all of the rest of this possible going forward. So you can take that off now. I'll come back to these a little bit later, and also we've created a whole web page which will go live just after this talk today that expresses these and gives some more detail about it. But I'll come back to them a little bit later. But first, I want to say one thing about them. And that is this, that all of these organizational priorities are motivated by one thing. They're motivated by the vision that Paramahansa Yogananda instilled in that blessed first generation of disciples. I have a picture for you. Put that on there. There you have those. We've listed at the top those same priorities that we just mentioned, and there with representative scene of our beloved Daya Mataji, and that rest of key members of that first generation that were the initial recipients of that vision of Paramahansa Yogananda. You can see from left to right, there's Uma Mata, Sahaja Mata, Ananda Mata, Durga Mata, Mrinalini Mata, our beloved Daya Mataji, Brother Anandamoy, Brother Bhaktananda, Brother Mokshananda, and Brother Premamoy. So I want to make this point that the vision that we're talking about, even these operational and organizational initiatives and priorities, these were instilled in that first generation, and then next slide, please, and then absorbed by all of us who came later. There's the monks, and the next picture, there's our dear nuns. So all of us who came afterwards, who were blessed to absorb that vision from those beloved ones. All right. So here's what Dayamata shared about this vision. She reminded us. She said that the teachings of Kriya Yoga, Guruji said, these are a special divine dispensation for the atomic age, sent to give seeking souls everywhere a master key that unlocks the door to personal communion with God. Daily scientific meditation is the only hope of a balanced life in this restless modern era or in any other era. You see how she's encapsulating that vision, not just as an organizational vision, but as a personal vision, which is, again, was the heart of what our Guru instilled in the ether, to vibrate into our receptive consciousness and to empower us that we will realize God. And then Ma went on, she said, when Gurudev prayed for divine guidance before leaving India in 1920, on that trip when he brought the teachings of India, the teachings of Kriya Yoga to the West, Mahavatar Babaji came to him and blessed him. And we've all heard these immortal words that Babaji gave to Paramahansaji there at his family home at 4 Garpur Road in Calcutta, when he said, Kriya Yoga, the scientific technique of God realization, will ultimately spread in all lands and aid in harmonizing the nations through man's personal, transcendental perception of the Infinite Father. It will aid in harmonizing the nations. My dears, we must never forget that. We must never lose sight of that, because what Babaji was prophesying, it's that same point that I've been trying to convey to all of you in various talks over the last few years, that what the world needs most of all right now at this moment in time so amazingly synchronizes with what the spiritual teachings of SRF and YSS have to offer. And those teachings, when practiced by all of you and many, many more, will aid in ushering the world into an era of higher spiritual civilization. Now, I want to share a little story with you about someone who came to that same conclusion independently. No influence from me or anyone else at all, because this is a very exciting development that I'm sharing and announcing for the first time today for the year ahead. So here's what happened. Late last year, it was not long after I returned from South America, I got a message from a very prominent and successful philanthropist from Great Britain. And he asked to meet with me. And he and his wife had read one or two of Paramahansaji's books, I think one or more of the collected talks and essays. And he came to see me at the Mother Center, and we sat upstairs and talked for quite some time. And he explained to me that over the years, their philanthropic foundation had donated extensively to various humanitarian and social causes for the benefit of humanity. But he said that more and more they had come to the conclusion that the gravest problems confronting our world, confronting the human family, these are just symptoms of a deeper cause. And that the real way to address those problems, the real way to address those challenges, was to do everything possible to help and contribute to a shift in consciousness, to address the underlying state of consciousness which gave rise to those problems in the first place. In other words, they became convinced that a shift and awakening of spiritual consciousness is the answer. So they set about organizing a philanthropic foundation. And when he came to see me upstairs, he said, on behalf of their philanthropic organization, he said, what can we do to help SRF make Paramahansa Yogananda's books available freely throughout the world? Because this gentleman from England, he said, there's nobody, in his opinion, there's nobody who expresses the profound and the practical spirituality that the world needs right now more powerfully, more articulately than Paramahansa Yogananda. That's what he told me. That's his words, not mine. I had no part in convincing. He hadn't heard me talk or express any of this. He and his wife came to that conclusion independently. They're not students or lessons that only had read a couple of those books. And so they came to that conclusion, and at the end of that conversation, there came a very generous, a very munificent offer from this philanthropic foundation. And that is to support SRF in creating a world-class online teachings portal, which we hope to launch later this year for the purpose of vastly expanding the outreach and availability of our Guru's teachings on a global basis. Let me just share with you a little bit of what we jointly wrote together after having this discussion, because I think it's so interesting to see the divine timing of where we are in this particular, not only this moment in world history, but in the moment of evolution of our Guru's world mission. So 100 years ago, in 1925, as we all know, Paramahansa Yogananda founded the international headquarters of Self-Realization Fellowship, right here where we're seated in Los Angeles, with the goal, with the vision of creating an enduring spiritual lighthouse and broadcasting center for the worldwide dissemination of India's timeless and universal yoga science of spirituality. And now, 100 years after Paramahansa Yogananda's founding of the SRF International Headquarters, SRF is embarking on a major expansion in order to bring his time-proven teachings to a much wider world audience. The international headquarters itself is about to undergo a multi-million-dollar thorough rehabilitation and renovation in preparation for the next 100 years. And complementing that endeavor, a new online spiritual teachings portal is being endowed and created to use the far-reaching digital technologies of the 21st century to extend the light of Paramahansa Yogananda's spiritual service, his inspiration, and the hope that he brought to the peoples of the world by making his voluminous legacy of teachings available free of charge to all who are interested. We'll start by building a digital platform where anyone from around the world can freely and easily access all the books by Paramahansaji and the other SRF and YSS publications, not only in English, but in all the other languages into which they've been translated, and also to facilitate new translations. Again, the goal is worldwide availability of this spiritual fountain of light and inspiration and hope, this universal spirituality. The platform will be equipped with an intelligent query tool so that anyone can put in a question and find over the whole range of Guruji's books. What about this? Or I've been wondering about this, or how do I do this? And many, many other features. I haven't even mentioned about the lessons and the audio video and the other things. We'll get into that as we develop this over the coming months. But I just wanted to introduce it to you now, even if briefly, at the outset of this new year. We're very excited about it, and we're very, very grateful to this very generous British couple who are making it financially possible. Now, I just mentioned our plans for the International Headquarters Retrofit and Rehabilitation Project, and that's the next topic that I want to briefly touch on during this session when we're sitting here at the beginning of the year, looking out of the months ahead and wondering, well, what will they have in store for our Gurus spiritual family? So this is certainly one of them. And you remember when I met with all of you last October on the anniversary of the 100th anniversary of the founding by Guruji of the Mother Center. And I spoke about this project and how important and how significant it is. Can you put number 7 on, please? So this is part of what I shared. Again, there'll be a lot more for you to peruse on the website here. Today, I'm happy to share with you that after many months and even years of planning and development, today I want to announce that we are able to assign a start date for the project, for the construction. And that will be in the fall of 2026 of this year. Of course, pending the completion of the city approval processes, the permits and things, but it's all going well, and at this time we feel that we can confidently plan for this. So probably some of you are wondering, oh, well, what's going to happen during that time? And so let me just take a moment to calm everybody down and say, don't worry, the 2026 convocation will not be affected. We'll have our pilgrimage tours as normal. That'll be from August 2nd through August 8th of 2026. And all the pilgrimage tours to visit the grounds and visit the building will take place as usual. But then after that, around mid-August, the Mother Center grounds will close for the project. And final preparations for the construction, for the move out, and all the associated details will begin. And that's scheduled to last probably about 3 years. So can you put the next one on? This just shows you a little timeline that where we are now in the preparations for the move out and so on. And then in April through July, we'll finalize all of the plans and approvals. Then we have convocation, August 2nd to 8th. And then mid-August, after convocation, then the grounds will close to prepare for this massive and long needed and long awaited preservation project of our Guru's holy and beloved Mother Center. And that'll start in the fall of 2026. So, as you know, this is a huge project. Huge project, but and I also want to present it properly to all of you. It's a lot more detail than we have time to go into today, so we'll do that on a separate occasion sometime later this spring. But I wanted at least to mention this much to you now. And thinking about this, and now it's starting to become real, isn't it? We've been talking about this for so many years. And I think back to something that always stuck with me from Mira Mata. Mira Mata was a close disciple who was entrusted by Paramahansaji with a number of aspects of his vision for her to implement. The Hollywood Ashram Center, starting in the late 1940s, early 1950s. And out of that, the formation of the SRF lay disciple group, which was the seed and which evolved into that wonderful organization that we have today of the Voluntary League of Disciples. So that was Mira Mata. And here's what she said in her inimitable way. She said, I always think the good Lord never closes one door, but that he opens another one if we have faith. So, and when the Mother Center closes its doors later this year, then we will not only keep open the other doors of our wonderful legacy pilgrimage sites, Lake Shrine, Encinitas, and so on, but with God's grace and Guru's help, we will also open a new one, and that is this world-class, amazingly accessible online teachings portal to extend the reach of this spiritual lighthouse further than ever before. Don't you often sort of sit back and say, who wove this web together of events? You know, it's so far beyond what any human planning group or strategizing group could do, and aren't we grateful for that? So, my dear ones, there's so much that we want to do for you. So much we want to do for all of you, because you're the cherished, beloved souls that have been drawn by that infinite love of God to the feet of his divine Son, Paramahansa Yogananda, and how he loves you, how he wants you to achieve that blessed, invulnerable, immortal state that he envisions for each one of us. So I've touched on a few aspects of the categories of things by which we hope outwardly to facilitate that over the coming years. Let me mention a few more of them just to share with you today. So could you put number 9 on, please? These, I'm just going one by one over those priorities that, some of them anyways, that we talked about earlier. So sharing the teachings globally. We're expanding global distribution of our publications to reach more truth seekers everywhere, translating the SRF lessons into many additional languages, continuing the publication of Paramahansa Yogananda's unpublished talks and writings, and planning memoirs about his life, including a new biography. Next one. We're enhancing the programs and services that we're able to offer to the world through the use of technology. And the idea here is to bring the SRF teachings to all, no matter their location. And to do that, we're enhancing the digital platforms and support services and expanding our online offerings. And let me just acknowledge that of all the messages and all the letters and cards and verbal greetings that come to me from all of Guruji's devotees around the world, I think this is probably the dominant theme is, thank you for putting that material online. Thank you for putting those services every week, week after week. Thank you for that online meditation center where we can, many times if we want a day, join in with our fellow disciples on the path for that, to partake of the power of group meditation. So that's part of what this one refers to. And then in addition to an ever-expanding wealth of inspirational content and programs for individual seekers, we're creating new programs for youth and for families, including children's content and teen and young adult outreach, and also exploring pilot SRF schools and lay disciple communities, with emphasis on exploring and pilot. See, that laugh of recognition comes from long years of experience in Guruji's work. But I have to tell you, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this too, you know how time flows in SRF? Wait, not yet, wait, not yet, wait, do it tomorrow. Haven't you seen that? And then you either get on board or get out of the way. So we have a lot to look forward to. Okay, next slide, please. Again, preserving SRF sacred sites and sanctuaries. I already mentioned the completing the international headquarters retrofit and rehabilitation. Then there's also continuing the efforts to restore and reopen the Blessed SRF Lake Shrine, which is coming along nicely. Grounds have been opened. Additional programs will be launched in a week or two. You can read about that on our website. Next slide. Also the Encinitas Ashram Center that Guruji started in 1937, where he wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, and where he started that nucleus of what he wanted to turn into a spiritual city, a spiritual beacon of universal inspiration and consciousness. And so today we have many, many projects that are in progress to preserve and upgrade the Encinitas grounds. It has those beautiful meditation gardens for the public, a retreat program, an ashram, dwellings for our monks and nuns, and of course, the hermitage where he lived for so many years. So I haven't even mentioned the amazing projects and progress that YSS, Yogoda Satsanga Society of India, is also doing in connection with sacred sites associated with our Guru and his life. That will be for another time. But it's truly worldwide, truly worldwide. All right, and then the last one, or not the last, next one. This is building the infrastructure that's needed to make everything else that I've touched on possible. And a couple of key points is that we are expanding our volunteer network and welcoming many, many dedicated lay members who are professionals in various fields to help Guruji's mission, Guruji's vision materialize. The world-class professional expertise of devoted lay members and volunteers from all over the globe allows our monks and nuns to focus more time on the endeavors that require monastic training and support of the spiritual needs of our growing worldwide spiritual family. So you go to the next one. And again, we're engaging more and more lay members in what we would call mission-critical roles. This has been a sea change in our organizational work over the last few years. And it's one that's both incredibly inspiring and incredibly necessary. That in large part made possible by the growth and evolution of this voluntary league of disciples, that league of dedicated lay members, lay disciples from all over the world, SRF and YSS, who have banded together to offer support and to help SRF move and evolve into this next phase, this wonderfully expansive phase of the fulfillment of our Guru's vision. And let me just mention that I'm very happy that here in our little gathering in the Mother Center Chapel today, as I mentioned, the Voluntary League of Disciples, who are playing such an amazing and transformational role in all of this, that I'm happy that most of the advisory council of the Voluntary League Disciples are joining us here today. It's appropriate. Okay, go on. Next slide. Or turn that off then, not the next slide. So, as you can see, I said in the beginning, we have a lot to share with you, and more than that, we have a lot we want to do with you and for you. This is really I would say the most significant, the most comprehensive operational expansion in SRF's history. And let me just stop, and with all the attention and focus and love of my heart and soul, let me thank each one of you who is contributing to make all of this possible, whether through financial support, through volunteering, through serving with either the kinds of professional skills that more and more we're in need of to make everything work as it's meant to work, or even by your own sadhana, your own prayers and meditations. Somehow that always ends up at the end of the sentence, but that should be at the beginning of the sentence. Because it's that vibratory power, it's that connection that each one of you makes in your daily meditation, in your daily sadhana, in your daily efforts to apply those how to live ideals and spiritual principles and consciousness in your work, in your family, in your interactions with others. These are what feed into that astral and causal network that makes all the success of this organization, together with the blessings and intercession of our Guru and Param Gurus. That's what makes it possible. So, you see, I wasn't just using words when I said that his vision really is founded on that each one of you will realize God. Each one of you will manifest that divine consciousness. So that gives you a glimpse of how we have organized our aspirations for all of you, our priorities in the coming year for this visionary work of our Guru. And again, all founded on that consciousness of that the real vision is that you will find God. In his vision, each one of you is a divine being. In his vision, each one of you is a divine being, either awakened, awakening, or in need of awakening. But a divine being nonetheless, waiting to be awakened. As he said, you are all gods if you only knew it. You are all gods if you only knew it. So how inspiring it is to start the new year by remembering what our great lineage of divine ones, our great lineage of gurus, is offering to each one of us. It takes your breath away. It's fathomless. The spiritual treasure, the spiritual transformation that they are offering to each one of us. And there's only one thing that they ask for in return. They do ask for something in return. You know what that is? Use it. Use it. Be filled and transformed with the living light and power flowing through the divine dispensation of SRF and YSS teachings and lineage of gurus. That's all that they ask. And that's all that we need to fulfill not only our New Year goals for 2026, but to fulfill the very purpose for which we incarnated on this earth. So let's make up our minds that as we journey through this new year, we're going to make it a journey with Paramahansa Yogananda. You want to come along? Are you ready? Yes. And in that way, we'll learn to live in this world, in this material world, without losing our connection with the divine. We'll learn to walk through the world as a mystic in love with God, following that model of Sri Yukteswarji, feet firmly on the earth, head in the haven of heaven. We'll be using those how to live sciences that our Guru gives us in the lessons to confront all challenges, to achieve our highest goals, and in so doing to become living links in this modern world with Christ, Krishna, and the Masters, living links between them and our emerging global civilization, which is progressively awakening to the universal spirituality which is its greatest need. My dears, that is the vision of Paramahansa Yogananda. Can we go within for a moment and experience this together? Close your eyes, please. Sit in the meditation posture and listen to this guided meditation that he gave. Guruji says, "You are all God's if you only knew it. Behind the wave of your consciousness is the sea of God's presence. You must look within. You must look within. Don't concentrate on the little wave of the body with its weaknesses. Look beneath. Close your eyes, and you see the vast omnipresence before you, everywhere you look. Feel that expansion into that vast omnipresence. And Guruji says, you are in the center of that sphere. And as you lift your consciousness from the body and its experiences, you will find that sphere filled with the great joy and bliss that lights the stars and gives power to the winds and storms. God is the source of all our joys and all the manifestations in nature. So he says, awaken yourself from the gloom of ignorance. You've closed your eyes in the sleep of delusion. Now awake, awake. Open your eyes, and you shall behold the glory of God. The vast vista of God's light spreading over all things. I am telling you to be divine realists, and you will find the answer to all questions in God. My beloved ones, we need never entertain fears. We need never entertain worries, anxieties. We don't pretend that they don't exist. We don't ignore them, but when they manifest, we confront them. We confront them with courage, with confidence, and with the spiritual methods of neutralizing all fears, of neutralizing all worries and anxieties through the power of Kriya Yoga. I want us to experience a glimpse of that before we close today. So again, sitting in the meditation posture, close your eyes, focused at the spiritual eye, the Christ consciousness center, Kutastha Chaitanya center. Inhale slowly. Feel the presence of God filling your body, mind, heart, and soul. Exhale slowly. Feeling the peace of God that passes all understanding. Inhale and exhale. With each breath, feeling that presence of God permeating your heart and brain and whole body with peace, with shanti, with calmness and divine consciousness. Now, those of you who know the Kriya Yoga technique, just mentally practice it a few times, feeling those cool and warm currents up and down the spine. Up and down the spine, awakening the spiritual eye. Just mentally follow those currents. Feel that They are purifying you and cleansing you up and down the spine, awakening the spiritual eye, purifying, cleansing, and baptizing you in that light of spirit. Baptizing you in Om. Baptizing you with fire and with the Holy Ghost, as Jesus said to his disciples. Now visualizing that sacred fire, that sacred flame in the spiritual eye, inwardly affirm, inwardly follow, and visualize. My Guru has kindled a sacred fire in my heart and spiritual eye. Just repeat silently and visualize so as not to pull yourself out of that interior eye state. Just mentally visualize, my Guru has kindled a sacred fire in my heart and spiritual eye. I cast into that sacred fire all fears, all worries, all desires, past and present, into that sacred fire. All my past bad karma, I cast into that sacred fire. I am cleansed and purified. I am baptized in spirit. I am aglow with spirit. I cast all my fears and worries into the sacred fire. All my desires and past karma I cast into the sacred fire, to be consumed forever. I am purified and cleansed. I am purified and cleansed. I am baptized in spirit. I am aglow in spirit. I am aglow in spirit. Om. Peace. Amen. Day by day, practicing those sacred techniques in the company of our great Guru and Param Gurus, our life will progress. Our life will steadily and assuredly move ahead, move forward in that journey with Paramahansa Yogananda, in that journey to our own divine realization of what we really are. Use those techniques of the Kriya Yoga science. And for those of you who have not yet received the Kriya technique, initiation in the Kriya technique. I have a suggestion for you. If you start now, by the end of 2026, you can have that powerful and sacred science that you can use to blaze your way through the jungle of mortal difficulties, the jungle of mortal entanglements and difficulties in this world of darkness and duality. That's what they brought for each one of you, for each of the billions of souls on this beautiful planet. And again, all they ask is use it. Use it. So, my dears, as we all work together, as we all march forward together in that joyous divine consciousness born of our daily contact in meditation, I know without a doubt that we will continue to bring to fruition that divine vision that our beloved Guru brought for each one of us, that each one of us will realize God, and in so doing, make the world in which we live a lighter, more harmonious, more peaceful, more productive civilization. God bless you all, and a joyous, blessed, victorious new year to you all. Jai Guru, until we meet again.